Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Sweet Fire Soul Revival YouTube channel. My name is Joe, if we have never met before. And if we have, welcome back. So, I want to talk to you about something today. I was going to do this last week and then I got sick and I'm feeling so much better today. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to jump on and do this fucking video. So, I want to talk a little bit about some energies and some archetypes and some shit. So, it's really interesting to me. I posted a couple weeks ago how we really we're a little bit off in terms of supporting the different energies, masculine energy, feminine energy, whatever. I don't mean gender. I'm not talking gender. But we have these fucking archetypes, right? That we, and especially like as like millennials, I think that we believe that we're above this, that we're beyond this, that this is not something that we don't participate in the perpetuation of these kind of like old outdated archetypes. And I am sorry to say that that's just not true. We absolutely do. And the reason that we do is because we're not aware most of the time of our own subconscious programming. Therefore, we're continuing the programming and we're passing that along. We're passing that down, right? So with all of the things that are going on in the world right now, we're asking these questions. Why is this still happening? How are we still allowing this to happen? And there's a lot of different answers or opinions or whatever on that. But the truth really, truly is, I mean, we're not going to get into what the truth really, truly is. But honestly, like, let's be real for a minute. Like, we have these really old, outdated archetypes that we're still passing along. That, you know, like our grandparents learn from their parents, and our parents learn from their parents, and we learn from our parents, right? And when we're not aware of what our subconscious programming is, we don't even fucking know it exists. We don't know it's there. We don't realize it's what we're doing. Just like you don't have to think about blinking, breathing, your heart beating, your blood flowing. You don't have to think about any of that shit, right? Your subconscious mind does it for you. Like I've said a million times before, the subconscious mind is 99.6% of your daily life, and your conscious mind is only 0.4%. So, what you are consciously aware of is only 0.4% of what's actually going on in your subconscious. It's not until you become aware and recognize, holy crap, this is what I believe and I didn't even realize, this is how I behave and I didn't even realize, these are actions that I'm taking, the things that I'm saying, the things that I think on a daily basis, and I didn't even recognize that was what was going on. It's not until we heal our shit, become aware of our shit, that we can actually change it, right? And so we're still, as a society, perpetuating these old paradigms, these old archetypes, right? We don't support in a productive way the masculine, feminine, or the internal, external energies, however you want to fucking call it, doesn't fucking matter. Energy is energy. It literally doesn't matter. And a lot of people get mad about that, but it is the fucking truth, right? Like, we don't have to consider gender when we're talking about energy because it's fucking energy. Gender doesn't matter, okay? So, here's the thing. When we continue, unaware, unconsciously, to perpetuate these things, to not be aware of these things that we're doing, we're continuing the paradigm, right? We're continuing these archetypes. And I say this from experience. I say this because I was a teacher for quite a while. And I saw it every single day. And it wasn't just in, the older generation of parents. It wasn't just in, the millennial generation of parents. It was across the board that these sort of fundamental foundational things are still being perpetuated, and to put gender on it, like, well, you're a boy, you have to act, behave, dress, etc. In this way, you're a girl, you act, behave, dress, etc. in this way. Like I said, I've seen it all, and we still do this, and it's a very subconscious thing. But here's the thing: we treat boys in a certain way, and we treat girls in a certain way, and we make excuses for them both in different ways. And we do this as kids, when they're children. We make these excuses, and we kind of like brush a lot of things off. And I don't just mean millennials, I mean in general. Like, this is what we do. This is what we've been taught to do. Is it's like, well, they're kids, they behave in these ways. And we say these things, and we do these things, and we perpetuate these actions, these energies, these behaviors, etc. And then those kids grow up with that, right? So it isn't just that, there's a particular generation that's kind of like ruined things for everybody else. Like, we're all still participating in these cycles. And like, this is what I tell my clients, my students, anyone who comes to me who asks me, why is this still happening? How is this still happening? We're still fucking participating in the cycles. That is why. Right? It's in everything that we consume, from social media, the news, the shows we watch, all that shit. It's all there, and it's all just compounding on the foundational programs that we're running in our subconscious, right? And it's not until, again, and I have a whole other video on awareness, right? But like, it's not until we become aware of those patterns, those actions, those programs that we are running without even realizing it, that we realize, oh my God, this is what I do, this is what I say, this is what I think, etc., etc. And it seems like, right? It seems like we would be so aware of these things. How could we not be aware? And I think I gave this example in the video, but like, for example, I had a friend who, we were having a conversation, and I asked her a question. I was like, just kind of give me your, like, just flow answer. Don't edit yourself. Just tell me whatever. And so she answered me, and I was like, wow, this is the first time that you have given me an answer without immediately following up with some kind of like, oh, well, that's a dumb idea, or like, I don't know why I feel that way, that's so stupid, like with some kind of like detrimental thing that you have to say about yourself, that you're like, diminishing what you said, what you thought, what you felt. Like, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. And she was just like, what? What are you talking about? And I was like, you do that all the time. Every time we have a conversation. And she was like, are you serious? And like, we, kind of talked about it. And she was like, I literally didn't even know that. And I have so many people that I come into contact with, whether, like I said, it's friends or clients or whatever, who don't realize that these are the behaviors that they're taking place in. And that's okay. Like, our subconscious mind has got us covered. But until we realize that, we don't fucking know. Right? And it requires being really deeply, brutally honest with ourselves to recognize these things. So a lot of times we'll be like, oh no, I don't really believe that, or oh no, I don't say things like that. Yes, we fucking do. Yes, we do. And it's because we're human, and we've all had this conditioning. We all have this programming that's going on right now, and that we're all just kind of moving in these ways because that's how our subconscious mind works, right? And I'm getting off topic, but in order to change these paradigms, we have to become fucking aware of what it is that we're doing and how we're participating in these cycles, right? And what's interesting to me is our lack of self-awareness, honestly, and just this kind of like, and I was just talking to my group the other day about this, like, just because this is how things work or how we've always done it, number one, doesn't mean that it is right for everyone, and number two, doesn't mean that it even fucking works at all, okay? And we need to start questioning these things, and not in an angry way, because that's what I see a lot of the time. It's what I hear a lot of the time. It's what people bring me. I felt this way before as well, so I know that, like, this is something that's a trigger for a lot of us, right? And so, you know, we immediately kind of go into this emotional place of like, well, that's wrong and I'm right because this is how I think or whatever. You know, and I don't participate in like politics or any of that shit, but like just watching things like kind of like, you know, one side doing this and the other side doing this, and they both believe that they're right and they're taking literally exactly the same action, right? And they don't even recognize this, but they believe that this is the right thing, right? Because it's on their side, and you're crazy for doing that, or you're crazy for doing that. But they're taking the exact same action, they're just doing it on the opposite end of the spectrum. Same shit. Just saying. And we need to see that. We need to recognize this shit, because this is how we learn. This is how we evolve. This is how we break the fucking cycles. But we can't do that when we're standing on our soapbox being pissed off at someone else for being wrong and preaching about how right we are and how righteous we are about XYZ. Who cares? I see a lot of talk and no action, right? And that's fine. Again, it's something that we're conditioned to do as a society. But it's time. If we really want to see the change, if we really want to sway the way that we are evolving and move the paradigm and remove kind of this old whatever that's going on, right? We have to see our shit. We have to stop saying it's your fault. It's your fault because this is what you believe. And it's your fault because that's your opinion. And it's your fault because this is what you're doing. Stop. Stop. Right? Because really, everything outside of you, everything that triggers you, everything that you're mad about, is really just a reflection of the work that you need to do on the inside. And I know so many people get real mad when I say that. But again, if this is triggering to you, that means there's work to be done. And I say this because that's how the fucking subconscious mind works. When we are triggered, it is telling us, hey, hello, we have shit to heal inside. We have some things to work out. We are ready to do the work. But we get triggered and then our emotions rise, right? And then we get mad or we're frustrated or whatever. And that is fine. However, it's what you do from there that matters. Are you going to let your emotions control you? Or are you going to get a hold of your emotions and say, well, that's interesting. It's interesting, isn't it, that I'm so pissed off about this? It's interesting, isn't it, that I'm so frustrated by this? I wonder what that means. And it's not because someone else is doing something that you don't like. I mean, on the surface, that's what it is. Sure. Or could be, right? That's a possibility. But what do you need to do to figure out where that anger is coming from? Because when we let our emotions get the better of us, when we let our emotions rule what we do, the actions we take, then we're always going to react instead of respond. And reaction is what we've been conditioned to do. We are a reactionary society. This is what has been perpetuated on purpose. I fully believe this. On purpose. For years and years and years and years and years. This goes beyond us, right? And we can't shift society in a way that benefits us all, that supports us all until we see our shit, right? Like I said. And so we will keep perpetuating these archetypes until we see our shit, heal our shit, change our shit. That's it. Like, so it takes that being honest with ourselves to say, like, wow, there's so much hate, there's so much anger in this world, and we feel justified because we hate or we're angry at the other side because they're doing wrong. And they hate and are angry at that side because they're doing wrong. Same fucking action, same fucking emotions on opposite ends of the fucking spectrum. That's all it is. And so we're constantly in this barrage of us against them. There's no us and them. It's us. That's all. And so we're mad at each other because you're on the right and I'm on the left. You're red and I'm blue, or what the fuck ever, you know, like. But this is something that we have been conditioned to believe forever, right? For a long, 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 long time, right? And not just millennials, all of us. And so when we continue to perpetuate this, like, well, the male, masculine, whatever, energy, gender, whatever, behaves in this way. This is the box of masculinity, and this is the box of femininity. And this is how they behave. And I won't even get started on the whole toxic, you know what, I will. So, toxic masculinity, let me just tell you guys, like, we have created this. I mean, I don't personally believe that that is a thing. Because I think we need to stop doing this thing where we're like, well, that's toxic because I don't like it. Anyway. Like, we need to stop that shit. We need to stop saying, this is toxic just because I don't like it. Instead of labeling all these things and pushing the blame and the work off on what is external, turn that shit around and do your own fucking work. I'm not saying that there's not imbalance. A bajillion % there is imbalance. However, if we're going to say that the masculine is imbalanced, we have to look at how imbalanced the feminine is as well. Let's be fair here, okay? So we're constantly, you know, and someone posted this the other day, and this was kind of like part of what my rant was in general, but someone was like, well, we live in a world where, you know, we tell women to love themselves, and then we tell them, you know, we tell confident women to sit down. And I was like, okay. However, we also live in a world where we tell boys to man up, and then we say they're toxic masculinity. No. On both sides. No. No. Okay? So it's not just that we're looking at this society of toxic men or toxic women. No. We're looking at an imbalance of energies because we're still perpetuating the old paradigms. We're still perpetuating this idea that the masculine acts this way and the feminine acts this way. And we're not looking at the shadows of those things. We're not fully seeing, I mean, we are, I guess, if we're calling it toxic masculinity, we're saying, well, this is how It's just imbalanced because that's the part that we're supporting, right? We're supporting the repression of emotion. We're supporting this whole like man up, like machismo, like bullshit, like what the fuck ever. And on the feminine side, we're supporting this like catty, jealous, like I don't even know. It's just, but it's ridiculous. This competition. And it's not getting us anywhere, is it? No, it isn't. And so when we can recognize that we're supporting in a non-positive way these like shadow parts of both of these energies, then we can say, holy fuck. That has been what we've been supporting. Now I get to decide what to do with that. Now that I recognize like all these ways that I'm supporting in a non-healthy way these shadows, I can change that. And here's the thing. When I say supporting the shadows, I again, like, it's about imbalance, right? It's about saying, like, well, men have to repress their emotions, and women have to overshare their emotions. They have to live in their emotions, right? Is that true? Ultimately, is that true? No, it's not. No, it isn't. Okay? And when we put that pressure on others or ourselves, we're continuing that cycle, that belief that we all carry around, right? This is kind of a universal thing. And that shadow of, well, men behave this way and women behave this way, like, we're supporting these things rather than looking at them to say, like, well, there's two sides of this. There's two sides to these energies. And it's not just that the masculine behaves in this way or that the feminine behaves in this way. Like, there has to be this balance. And the more we repress on any scale, the more that we repress something, the more we're going to continuously be triggered by it, right? Because our subconscious mind wants us to heal things. And so when it's ready to heal, it's going to continue to bring up these things that need to be healed. That's why this keeps happening. That's why these things that we see in this world continue to fucking happen, because we're not healing our shit. Instead, we're pointing fingers at other people and saying it's your fault that this is happening. Like I said, I don't typically get political or talk about any of this shit, and I know some of you are going to be like, well, you live in Arizona. But listen, it's not the guns that are causing the problem. It's that we have not healed our shit. If the guns weren't here, we would find something else. And like, we see that across the board. And the thing is, we need to recognize the cycles. We can sit here and continue to point fingers at one side or the other and say it's your fault. No, it's your fault. This is what you're doing. This is what you're not doing. This is what you allow. Blah, blah, blah. Because that's easier. It's easier to blame someone else. It's easier to say, no, it's your fault. Right? Like, so much easier. Instead of actually looking at what we need to do as individuals, but also as a society. So instead of getting angry about these things, instead of spreading more hate and anger, do you think that's going to work against the hate and the anger? Nah, it's not. It's just going to create more hate and more anger, right? So, it's time to heal. It's time to forgive. It's time to release. And like, it's time to really love and support these things. These things that for so long we have allowed to become imbalanced. And the system that we live in is not going to fucking support us in that, right? It's not. We have to do it as individuals, as a society, as a collective. We have to do it for ourselves and for each other. That's how we make the change. That's how we balance the energies. Not blaming, not calling everything we don't like toxic because we don't want to deal with our shit. Again, I'm not saying that there's not inexcusable or imbalanced behavior that is going on out there. 1,000,000% there is, but we also need to recognize that that's happening for a reason. Right? So, it's time. It is time. Stop blaming. Stop allowing our emotions to run away with us and just basically control the show. It's time to respond. It's time to heal. It's time to forgive. It's time to release. It's time to create a new fucking paradigm. Can you tell that I'm an Aquarius? But on a serious note, I mean, really, like, it is time to do something about it. And, like, you can sign all the fucking petitions in the world, guys. But if you're not healing your shit and showing other people that it is safe to do that and support them in that as well, it doesn't matter how many fucking petitions you sign. This is still going to continue. So, we have to be able to recognize the imbalance and to take accountability for ourselves and the imbalance that we have on an internal level, and stop looking outside for things to blame, because it's not going to get us anywhere. Blame, it sure does feel good in the moment to be like, it's your fault. This is why this is happening. It is. It's easy. It feels good to like put that off on someone, because we learned that being to blame was like a bad thing. You know, we get in trouble, whatever that means, right? You didn't want to get in trouble when you were a kid. You probably still don't want to get in trouble as an adult, right? Like, think about that. Think about, like, what does that mean to you to be in trouble? And I know that we've, like, gone on for a really long time and, like, I've kind of switched topics, but it all really, like, does, it all is enmeshed, right? And so, because we don't want to feel like we're in trouble or to blame, that's why we want to point the finger at everybody else. Because we don't want to be in trouble. We don't want to be in the hot seat. But there's no such thing. Like, fucking whatever. Like, that's such bullshit. We're adults. You know, and even if you're an adult with kids, like, it's time to parent yourself. It's time to parent your children in a different way that's going to really, truly, in a healthy way, support them, right? And to support yourself. And so, when we're able to heal ourselves and then be able to pass that down to our kids, it's going to produce a generation that's much more healthy, much more balanced. I'm not saying that there's never going to be any kind of imbalance. Of course there is. Of course. That's the nature of things. But now we know how to create a balance. Now we know how to come back to what is the truth. Then we know how to come back to how to heal, right? So, I'm going to end on that note, because we've been going on for like almost half an hour now. I'm going to link my video to awareness down below, so that if there's things that you know, like, I am very triggered by this, that way you learn how to become aware of what that is and what behaviors, what thoughts, what subconscious programming you're running, so that you can acknowledge it, heal it, change it, right? And it really is important for us to do that, because we can't do it as a collective if we're not doing it as individuals, right? It isn't like the world isn't gonna change in mass. Like, we have to do it on an individual level. That's how this is gonna work. Okay? Alright, guys. I will go. If you have questions, let me know. I will see you next week. Bye.